Right. Today we want to start on our next topic, which is introduction to Visual Basic for applications. Right. Our main focus in this topic will be to see how we can be able to use the computer to do better analysis using various applications that we don't normally use in our day-to-day activities. Right. The issue is you would find that managers, they spend a lot of time doing something that routine tasks. So Visual Basic applications, they allow us to ensure that we can computerize those basic things. After computerizing those basic things, then we can be able to concentrate on the major issues. Right. So we can be able to do it using Excel. And I think one of the assessments that you did a quiz, I think already on the first task. So today we'll introduce the topic, and we have got an assignment that is due, I think is it on Friday. So what I will do so that we can be able to make sure that we do that assignment before the day, I'm going to, for this week, we're going to shift one of my classes on Thursday to Friday, so that on Thursday we can be able to do the task that we're supposed to be doing. I think we've got a task that we're supposed to do, if I'm not mistaken. We have a task that we're supposed to do this week. Then we've got another one that is supposed to be done, I think, later. So for this week, we want to make sure that we can be up to date. I think you had to do the other two tasks on your own, but we want to make sure that we can be able to work on this together. Right. Before I proceed, when we meet for the assessment, we should make sure that we have got the applications that allow us to do the assessment. I would suggest that you should have maybe a gadget that will have Excel. You should have a gadget that should have Excel. Then after having that gadget with Excel, you should be able to, I will show you how to make sure that we have got the developer on your Excel, so that we can be able to do the task together. Because I think some of these things, it's unlike the other tasks that we're doing, whereby we could say, I will just do it, then I say you go and do it on your own. I would suggest that it is best for us to do together. So maybe when we meet on Thursday, I will tell you the exact time after doing my changes. Please make sure that you have got your gadget. Either if you are accessing Zoom via phone, then you can have your laptop aside, so that you can also be following the steps that we'll be using within that class. So please make sure that you are able to have access to your laptop, which will help you to follow what we'll be doing. Right. So we're going to, so this class will be focusing just on the assignment. We'll just do the assignment. When we finish, then we're done. I don't think it will take us a lot of time, but you should make sure that you have got what? Your laptop, and it should have Excel. And I will show you, maybe if you don't have your laptop right now, I will show you how to make sure that you have the developer on your laptop. Then maybe let me just start with that on how you can be able to make sure that you can insert the developer. Right, you would find that most Excel, when you open your Excel, you will not be having this function here. Let me just show you. This developer here, because what we want to use this Visual Basic for the assessment. For you to do the assessment, you should have this Visual Basic on your laptop. So you find that in most instances, when you go on your Excel, you will find that this developer will not be there. This developer will not be there. So you are supposed to make sure that you have it. How do you do that? Right. If you don't have the developer, if it's not on your laptop, you go to the file. Right. Then under the file, you go to options. So I hope you are writing the stages there. File, then options. I'll also write them maybe in our Excel sheet. Right. So files, then you are in options. Right. When you are in options, you go to customize ribbon. You go to customize ribbon. Right. Then you would find that most of you guys, this one will not be there. If you see, if it's unchecked here, when I go back to Excel, this will be your Excel. It won't have the developer. As you can see, I don't have the developer here. Why don't I have the developer? Because my developer is not checked. So if your Excel is like this, there is no way that you can do the assignment that we'll be doing. So before we meet, I won't have time for us to make sure that we insert the developer during that session. During that session, we just want to start from scratch to just do the activity. I think is it 3.2 or so, the one that is due on Friday. So we'll go straight, because I want to avoid doing it on Friday. I would have said we could do it on Friday, but if I don't have electricity like the past 2 weeks, then it will be stuck. So that's why I want to shift it so that we do it on Thursday. After doing it on Thursday, then maybe you can even submit if you are sure, if you are happy with your work. If you are not happy, then the next morning you can shape it up. At least you'll have the whole day to shape it up and make sure that you submit. So our class will be on Thursday. I will shift one of my classes so that we can be able to do that. Right. So please, before we meet, follow these procedures. You go here on file. You click on file. As you can see, there's no developer here. Right. After going on file, you go to options. I hope you're writing these stages so that when you're alone, if you don't have your laptop right now, you'll be able to do it. Then you go to options. When you are in options, these Excel options, you go to customize ribbon. Customize ribbon. Right. Then you customize ribbon. Right. Right. Then you go to main tabs. This is the main tabs. That's where developer is. So you can see that my Excel did not have developer because the developer box was not ticked or checked. So for me to have developer, I should then click on the developer. When I click on the developer, then you say, okay. So I think you can see that we said file, options. After options, customize ribbon. After customize ribbon, go to your main tab and make sure that you tick developer. After ticking, don't forget to say, okay. That way, my developer is now there. So now I can go to develop and that I can be able to use the Visual Basics. Right. So please, that first task that I've said, I'm not going to be doing it in our class on Thursday. Actually, that task I expect you to have done it before we meet. Right. So then our main area today would be to discuss generally what we are talking about when we talk about Visual Basic. Right. Introduction. Visual Basic. Applications. I think over the next few classes, that's what we'll be dealing with. Right. there are many things that you can do using Visual Basics, as we shall see, which will ensure that the routine tasks can be operated by a computer instead of being done by, and I think we discussed in our previous classes that most of the time you would find that managers and employees, they can waste time doing things, routine things that can easily be programmed using the computer. Then at the end of the day, they will just get their information from the computer if they just put the inputs in the computer. All right. Right. These applications they can assist in automating routine processes. Using programming languages. Right. So these processes are used to set up ways of solving problems using the computer. So the user will inform the computer when the task to be completed. So as you will see, when we do our exercises, so it will be like you are informing the computer. There's a command that you are giving to the computer to do what you should be doing on a daily basis. So it's actually what you could have been doing manually on a day-to-day basis, then you convert it to the computer. Right. So VBA enables the inputting of instructions. So you can tell the computer that maybe I need the names to be on this area. Then the computer will then follow your whatever you are saying from those instructions. Right. Applications. Data can be analyzed. Data can be summarized. Frees up time for users to concentrate on non-routine tasks. Whilst the computer will be able to perform the routine tasks according to instructions. Right, of course, we know that in our module, you will not be necessarily going to be doing much of the programming, but there is a part that can help us so that we can be able to do your work as maybe a professional accountant or a professional auditor that will be dealing with. So it's not necessarily that we'll be going deeper into the programming, right? Can be used to create models which can assist in the following areas. Projecting future sales. So the computer can be able to help you to project the sales, and after creating your module, your model, right? Predict prices of shares. Of course, it doesn't mean. Remember that the model will be as accurate as the inputs. If the inputs are not accurate, if the inputs are wrong, the output will also be wrong. So you'd find that whatever model you create is dependent on how you created that model. Right. Generating ratios. Instead of you calculating the ratios, you can create a model whereby you don't have to do the creating of ratios, to the calculation of ratios on a year-by-year basis. The model that we have created can be able to do that for you. So you don't necessarily have to work on that on a day-to-day basis. Right. You can also use it for portfolio management. When we talk about a portfolio, an entity can be able to buy shares in different companies, so they can be able to manage their risk by checking which portfolio can they use. All right. So you can be able to use, so when you get into the developer tab, sorry, there are various functionalities that you can be able to use there for you to be able to maneuver within the Visual Basics. You can there will be the Visual Basics, whereby you can be able to input your instructions, as we shall see that we can be able to, like when we do our first task, we'll be using the modules for us to create instructions. So after you have put your instructions within these documents, these instructions will then be transported to your Excel sheet through the run function. When you run whatever instructions that you have put here, then it will transport whatever data that we have to your Excel. So at the end of the day, if you create these models, you would what will happen is you will not be repeatedly doing the same task. The system will now be doing for you. It will just need maybe a little bit of inputs, then everything will be processed through the computer. So instead of you doing everything on a day-to-day basis, you just create your system, give instructions to the computer. Then let's say, for example, it's the students that I'm putting in the system here. Then next year, When I start again, I don't have to restart again. Everything will be in the system. The system will do everything for me. Right. So there are various things that we are going to see that we'll be using when we deal with these macros. So when you work in the developer, everything that you have done will then be exported to your Excel sheet. Then you can properly analyze your data there when it is now in the format that you can understand. Right. We'll be making use of what are called macro recorders. Right. So a macro recorder, this is a self-generating VBA coding tool. Which is an alternative to coding manually. So when you use the macro recorder, you will put your instruction, and then when you click on the control, then the system will do everything for you. I think this task will make much more sense when we actually do when we actually do them. Right. I'm just trying to my page is gone. Just a second, let me just try to get it back. Sorry, just a second, it's not. Right. So you'd find that, let me just go on your, if you can see this. Those are what we talk about when you talk about macros. Right. So macros are actions or set of actions that can be used make the computer run the same processes repeated. So when a macro is created, it can be used to find solutions or process data of a similar nature in future. So that means using those macros after creating them, then similar circumstances would then be processed using those macros instead of starting everything afresh, right? The user can also be able to make minor changes to the macros. In case there are changed circumstances. So that means you can customize it to changes that happen, so that, because like what this is very important, because you might find that the circumstances under which you created your system in the beginning, there can be changes in the business world. So you might have to make changes to your macro. All right. The macros can also be used through the Visual Basic Editor to create, edit, and record macros. Of performing frequent and repetitive tasks. Right. On the other hand, users should be careful when using macros. They pose potential security challenges. They can erase files or install malware on the computer. right? So that's why we have this macro security. So this macro security, the purpose is to maybe avoid and detect any possible danger. Right. So if there's any possible danger, we can always use this macro security feature, whereby you can disable macros without notification, disable. You can choose the options that you can be able to use there. This can help you to have your security. Right. Macros, if you choose this option, the macros will not work. So this is normally used maybe when you don't trust the macros that we are using. All right. Then here it can just disable, but you'll be informed that they are disabled. Then you would enable if you trust the source of the macros. If you trust that the macros will not damage, maybe they are yours, then you enable them. But then if you see that you don't trust the macros, then you can allow the disabling of the macros. Right. This one, that means as long as the publisher has been accepted, then you can be able to, it doesn't give a notice, then you can just, as long as it's the same publisher, then you can be able to access the data. Right. Then this one, enable macros, is not recommended. Why? Because it can expose you to danger. It can expose you to danger, as anything, even dangerous things can be able to access your computer. So normally would suggest that you just keep it on the disable all macros with notification, so that you can be notified and you can be able to choose which macros can run on your computer if you trust them. Right. I see that. Right. Let me just go to the task. Let me just first transport it to this computer. Just trying to open the document that we need to use for the assessment. Where is this document? Sorry, I think I didn't save this document. Right. Then the next thing that we'll move on to are the advantages and disadvantages that are associated with VBA. Right. Right. VBA enables consistency. It's similar tasks in similar circumstances. Will be executed in the same manner. So there will be some consistency within the operations of the entity. Right. VBA enables faster processing, undertaking of tasks when compared to manual processing. You'd find that the time that you take to analyze data manually will be shortened when we apply VBA. You can be able to get your results a little bit faster. Right. If the macros are created well enough, there will be no errors. But as we said, the program will only be as good as the formation of it. So if the inputs that created it had errors, it can also result in errors. All right. If everything is set properly using VBA, users who are not able to use VBA can easily run the macro. So you'd find that maybe you are the boss, you know how to do the macros, your juniors do not know how to do it. If you create everything properly, they can now just run the macro, although they don't know how to create it. That way they can be able to access the data that they need, although they might not be conversant on how you might have created it. Right. Things that could be impossible or difficult manually can be done. Like analyzing large volumes of data. And we're talking about maybe you can create your macros and you can be able to predict some future information based on certain inputs, which could be very difficult to do using the human mind. All right. Repetitive tasks can be left to computers and organizational members. concentrate on analyzing output and decision making. Right. Then there are also some disadvantages. Knowledge of VBA is required. And some users are not well conversant with technology. So you might find that for some users, it might be very difficult to do these things that are related to VBA. All right. There can be security risks. Which can cause important data to be lost. I think we talked about the possibility that there can be macros that are dangerous, that can be able to access your computer, and you can have malware. Right. VBA macros created may become incompatible with new versions. I think you know that the computer is always updating. You'd find that the Excel is changing and stuff like that. This other time they will tell you that you need this particular Excel and stuff like that. So you'd find that because of that, you might create something today, then you find that when the new version comes in, it cannot work under the new version. So you have to start all over again. Right. They can be changed the circumstances. Which can render your VBA ineffective. Remember, we said that you can create a model that will be able to perform repetitive tasks. But now, when you created the model, remember that the environment that you're operating in is dynamic. You might find that there will be changed circumstances. And when there are changed circumstances, whatever model that you have created, it might no longer give the accurate results or the correct results. That means your VBA will no longer be applicable to the situations that you will be in. So it is important that you make sure that you take care of the security, and you also review your VBA and see if it's still applicable, rather than to just assume that everything is normal. Right. Any questions?
None for me.
If you don't have any questions, I want you to go and look at, make sure that you go on your My UNISA, you check on activity 3.2. Activity 3.2, make sure that when we meet, we have got activity 3.2. So on Thursday, we'll only be dealing with activity 3.2. So our focus will be on activity 3.2 as I will be trying to show you how to do that activity 3.2. So please make sure that we have it with you, the activity 3.2. That will be our focus on Thursday. As I said, our class will not be on Friday, it will be on Thursday because the assignment is due on Friday. So I want to try to do it on Thursday. In case there's a problem on Friday, then we might be in trouble. So I will see how I'll shift my classes there. Any questions?
Sorry, sir. How one does check if VPN is still working, VPA?
I can't hear you.
How does one check if VBA is still working? I heard you saying that when maybe the version is updated, one has to check if the VBA is still working. How do you then check?
No,
if
like you check the results. Remember that you use the VBA to get data as intended information.
Okay.
There can be inconsistencies in the output.
Okay.
Which are not in line with your current circumstances. Then you see that this is no longer relevant.
Noted.
Actually, maybe the wording is wrong. I could have said maybe the models and stuff like that you will have created. You have to check if they are in line with what is happening, the results that you are getting at the moment. Okay, so please guys, make sure that you have your laptop and make sure that you have got the developer on when we do the task on Thursday. Thank you so much.
Thank you.